I met Natalie in the most unremarkable way at a mutual friend's game night. I just moved into town for work, didn't know many people yet, and my buddy Chris insisted I come out and be a human for a night instead of unpacking boxes. I remember walking in and hearing her laugh before I even saw her. It was this sharp, honest kind of laugh that cut through the small talk in the room. She was standing near the bookshelf, glass of red wine in hand, explaining why she refused to play Monopoly with anyone she wasn't married to. Said it was the fastest path to resentment and bad blood. I liked her immediately. We ended up paired up for a trivia game that night, and we won, not because we were particularly smart, but because we made each other laugh the whole time. I walked her to her car afterward. She had one of those little keychain flashlights and used it to make sure I didn't trip on the curb. I asked her to dinner that weekend, and that was it. We. From there, things just clicked. She was smart, organized, effortlessly social. I was quieter, more methodical, better at logistics than charm. We balanced each other out. After a year, we moved in together, and about 18 months later, we got married at a local vineyard surrounded by 100 people who all seemed to know her since childhood. Natalie was the kind of person who collected people. Everyone stayed in touch with her, even the ones who moved away or got busy with their own lives. Now, 5 years into our marriage, our life has settled into a rhythm I genuinely enjoy. We live in a 3-bedroom home in a quiet cul-de-sac just outside of Raleigh. I work in network administration for a mid-sized logistics company, mostly from home. She manages a dental clinic in town, handling everything from hiring and scheduling to budgeting and community outreach. She's great at it, assertive, fair, focused. People listen when she talks, and she knows how to keep a room in order without raising her voice. Our mornings start early. I'm usually downstairs first making coffee while she gets ready upstairs. She's out the door before me most days, but she always kisses me on the cheek before she leaves, every single morning, even when she's running late. We text during the day, little updates, funny photos, grocery reminders. Nothing dramatic. Just the steady check-ins of people who've made a life together. Weeknights are low-key. She usually takes the lead on dinner. I clean up. Afterward, we unwind in the living room. Her with a glass of wine and some home design show, me half listening while I finish emails or scroll through sports news. Weekends are for errands, seeing friends, trying new places to eat. It's not exciting, maybe, but it's solid. Comfortable. Real. We don't have kids yet. That's been a slow conversation. We've talked about it, circled around the idea, but never felt the pressure. We've always said we'd know when it felt right. In the meantime, we've taken a couple of big trips, saved steadily, and settled into a life that, on the outside and inside, looks like exactly what we wanted. At least, I thought so. Natalie and I weren't the kind of couple people described as passionate or adventurous, and I was always perfectly fine with that. We were steady, predictable, even. But there was a real comfort in that rhythm, and we both leaned into it like it was something we'd been searching for without knowing it. After years of dating that felt more like auditioning, being with someone who never made me guess was exactly what I needed. Our house is modest but feels full. Not of things, exactly, though Natalie does have a knack for filling shelves with just the right balance of framed photos, books we both only half read, and those oversized candles she picks up every time we visit a home goods store. But there's a warmth to it. You walk in, and it smells like vanilla or clean laundry. The living room has soft throw blankets, a sectional that's way too big for 2 people, and a plant in the corner that somehow isn't dead despite our best efforts. Weekdays follow a pattern we've refined over the years. I usually work from the upstairs office, 2 monitors, a standing desk, and a chair I spent too much money on but use every day. Natalie gets home around 5:30, and the first thing she does is kick off her shoes and check the mail. Then she opens a bottle of wine, pours a glass, and catches me up on the day while I finish up whatever spreadsheet or network ticket I'm buried in. Dinner is almost always something simple. She's a better cook than me, though I've learned to handle basics. She likes to try new recipes every now and then, especially if she sees them on Instagram or gets them from one of her coworkers. We eat at the kitchen table, no TV, just music in the background. It's one of those little rules we agreed on early, no screens during meals. It stuck. After dinner, we'll either clean up together or she'll handle dishes while I water the plants or take out the trash. Then it's the couch. Something light on TV. She likes reality shows, the kind with beach houses or home makeovers or dramatic wine-throwing arguments. I pretend not to care, but I usually get pulled in. We laugh together a lot during those shows. It's easy, familiar. On weekends, we run errands, grocery shopping on Saturdays, sometimes brunch on Sundays if we're feeling social. She likes browsing local markets, finding little things for the house, and I tag along, mostly for the snacks. We see friends here and there, nothing wild, dinner parties, board games, the occasional brewery night. Our friends always say we're the solid couple, the reliable ones, the ones who seem like they're already 10 years into marriage, even if we're only 5. Vacations aren't frequent, but when we take them, Natalie plans everything. Flights, hotels, reservations. She's a master at finding deals and building perfect itineraries. I just follow along, carry the bags, and keep an eye on directions. That's our dynamic. She steers, I keep the pace. And it works. It's not dramatic. It's not the kind of love you write songs about. But it's ours. And for a long time, I thought it was enough. If you'd asked me back then how I felt about my marriage, I would have said, lucky. Not in a dramatic, sweeping kind of way, just genuinely grateful. We had stability, laughter, a home that felt lived in, not staged. We didn't argue often, and when we did, it was over small things. Who forgot to start the laundry? Whether we should get a second dog. We always circled back. We knew how to read each other. Natalie had a gift for details. She remembered everything. The day I interviewed for my current job, how I take my coffee, the brand of socks I like because they don't slide down inside my shoes. Every year for my birthday, she'd find one gift I didn't even know I wanted until I opened it. A custom keychain with coordinates to the first place we kissed. A t-shirt with a quote from a book I loved in college. It was always personal, thoughtful. She paid attention. She also ran the social side of our life. I'm not particularly outgoing, and she knew that. So she handled the invites and text and group chats. She'd say, we're going to Jenna's on Saturday, and I'd go, no questions. It wasn't about control, she just enjoyed that stuff more than I did. I liked watching her work a room. She had this way of making people feel like they were the only one she was listening to, even in a crowd. People gravitated toward her. I never felt jealous. If anything, I was proud to be the guy she chose. We were different in plenty of ways. She was a little more impulsive, quicker to speak her mind, always chasing some new project or side hustle or home organization idea. I was slower, more structured, the one who double-checked the bills and made sure we weren't overspending on Amazon. But we balanced out. I never felt like we were pulling against each other, just filling in the spaces the other one left open. We shared passwords. We shared grocery lists. We'd fall asleep holding hands most nights, or at least with our feet tangled under the blanket. She'd reach out for me in the morning without fully waking up. It was instinct. Familiar. I didn't think about it much then. That's the thing about comfort. It becomes invisible until it's gone. I remember one night in particular, not for anything special, but because it summed up our life. It was raining, and we'd just finished dinner. We sat on the couch with the dog curled between us, a bowl of popcorn between our knees, half watching a movie we'd both seen before. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, I like us. And I believed her. It started like most things in our marriage did, with a casual conversation over dinner. We were eating takeout on the couch, a Friday night tradition when we were too tired to cook. Natalie had just come back from a long week at the clinic, back-to-back meetings, staff turnover stress, the usual juggling act she was always good at. She looked drained but still upbeat, and somewhere between bites of pad thai, she said, I was thinking about planning a trip. Just me and a few of the girls. Nothing crazy. I glanced up from my food. Yeah? Where to? Probably somewhere warm. Maybe Mexico. Carly mentioned this all-inclusive resort she's been to twice. It's not even that expensive if you split a room. I feel like I need a breather, you know? I didn't know. Natalie worked hard. She rarely took time just for herself, and when she did, it was usually a day off that still involved laundry and errands. So I didn't blink. I didn't read into it. She deserved a break. A week with her friends sounded like exactly the kind of thing that would recharge her. She continued, I'd cover my part of the flights and stuff, but if we're booking soon, do you think we could swing the deposit from our savings? It's around $1,200, but I could transfer half back after my next check. Yeah, of course, I said without hesitation. Just send me whatever you need, and I'll move it over. She smiled, one of those small, tired smiles that told me she was relieved I didn't make it a thing. Thanks, babe. I was a little nervous to ask. I didn't want it to sound like I was trying to run away from home or something. You're not, I said. You're just taking care of yourself. We laughed. She kissed me on the cheek. We went back to our food. That night, I transferred the money. She booked the trip the next day, said it would be 5 days, 4 nights, late March, perfect weather, a chance to sleep in, drink margaritas by the pool, and forget about dental appointments for a while. I told her to have fun, to take pictures, to not worry about checking in unless she wanted to. I meant every word. In fact, I felt good about it. Proud, even, that we had the kind of relationship where she could ask for that, and I could support it without turning it into an issue. I told my coworker about it the next day, said something like, "Natalie's heading to the beach with her friends next month. I think it'll be good for her." He nodded. Yeah, it's important to get that kind of space. And I agreed. Because I trusted her. Because at the time, it didn't even occur to me that I shouldn't. Natalie left for her trip on a Tuesday morning. I drove her to the airport, helped her with her bag, kissed her goodbye at the drop-off curb while she checked her boarding pass one last time. She looked relaxed, maybe more than I'd seen in months. "I'll text you when I land," she said, already halfway through the security line. I told her to have fun, to let go of work for once, to take pictures and actually enjoy herself. The first couple of days were quiet. I didn't expect much. She'd said she wanted to unplug a little, and I didn't want to be the husband who kept checking in like some kind of babysitter. But still, it surprised me how little I heard from her. A couple of texts the first day, mostly group photos, her and 2 of her friends by the pool, margaritas in hand, smiles wide, all filtered with that sunny orange tint. She looked great, relaxed, happy. But then, nothing for a while. I didn't want to make it a thing. I mean, she was on vacation. I reminded myself she deserved that space. Still, it felt weird when a full day passed without a single message. I checked my phone more than usual, told myself maybe she lost signal, maybe she forgot her charger, maybe they were just busy with excursions and sleeping in and not thinking about home. That was the point, right? But something didn't sit right. On the 3rd day, she finally messaged. Just a "hey, all's good," smiley face, nothing else. No photo. No update. I replied immediately, asked how things were going, if she'd done that boat tour she mentioned. She didn't answer until late that night. We didn't end up going, might tomorrow. Super chill here. Again, I told myself not to overthink it. But there was something about the way she wrote that didn't sound like her. Natalie was usually full of details. She'd tell me what she ordered for lunch, or what playlist they played by the pool, or some random story about a loud tourist on the shuttle bus. That was her style. This felt edited, light, vague. I let it go. Or at least, I tried to. But the next day, her location on the phone wasn't showing anymore. We had each other's location set up from years ago, mostly for convenience. We never abused it. I'd check when she was on her way home so I could warm up dinner. She'd glance to see if I was stuck in traffic before calling. But suddenly, hers was unavailable. Location not found. I stared at it longer than I should have. Maybe she turned off the setting accidentally. Maybe her battery died. Maybe it was a bug. I didn't ask. I didn't want to sound possessive. But I couldn't help noticing that none of her friends had posted anything else since that first day either. And Natalie, who normally posted about everything from appetizers to sunsets, had gone strangely quiet. It didn't mean anything. Not really. But something felt different. And the more I tried to explain it away, the less convinced I was by my own excuses. By the 4th day, I'd stopped pretending I wasn't checking my phone constantly. I wasn't looking for drama, just reassurance. Something normal. A picture of her dinner, a blurry selfie with one of the girls, a funny story about sunscreen or sunburns or overpriced souvenirs. Anything that sounded like the Natalie I knew. But it didn't come. Instead, she sent a single photo around noon, a grainy shot of the beach, no people, no context, no caption. Just blue sky, pale sand, and part of a towel at the bottom of the frame. It felt like filler, like something you send when you know someone's waiting for a check-in and you want to give them the minimum. I stared at it for a long time. Not because there was anything wrong with it. On the surface, it was exactly what I'd expect from someone on vacation. But it felt wrong. Detached. Like it wasn't for me. That night, I tried calling. Just once. No answer. A text came about 20 minutes later. "Hey babe. Sorry. We were out by the pool, and I didn't hear it. You good?" I told her I was fine. I asked how she was. She replied with, "Relaxed. Just what I needed." And then nothing else. No emoji. No follow-up. No warmth. Natalie wasn't a bad communicator. That's what made it strange. She was expressive by nature. She liked telling stories, sharing little moments of her day. Even when she was busy, She made time for connection, sending me funny memes, voice notes, screenshots of conversations with her friends that made her laugh. But this trip, she was flat, minimal, edited. And her friends? Still silent. No tags. No stories. Not even the usual flood of group photos I'd gotten used to seeing every time they went out for brunch, let alone a beach vacation. I tried not to spiral. I reminded myself that she deserved space, and maybe they'd all agreed to unplug and be present with each other. That sounded healthy. Mature. I even texted her one evening and said, "Hey, if you're trying to disconnect for a bit, don't worry about me. I'm fine here. Just want you to enjoy yourself." She didn't reply until the next morning. "Thanks. That means a lot." It was short, polite, and it didn't sound like her. But I said nothing. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband who couldn't handle his wife taking a few days for herself. I didn't want to project something onto her that wasn't there. So I kept my mouth shut and focused on work. On walking the dog. On watering the plants. On anything that didn't involve checking my phone every 10 minutes. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Not just the communication, but her tone. Her absence. It wasn't just that she was away. It was that, for the first time in our marriage, I felt like I didn't know where she was emotionally. And worse, I wasn't sure she cared that I noticed. The last day of her trip, I cleaned the house. Not out of boredom, really, just restlessness. The kind of energy that builds up when something in your life feels off and you don't know what to do about it. I vacuumed. I changed the sheets. I even reorganized the pantry. Anything to stay busy. Anything to quiet the voice in my head that had started whispering, "You're not crazy. You're just not being told the full story." Natalie was due back that evening. Her flight landed just after 7, and I offered to pick her up, but she told me not to bother. "I'll Uber from the airport," she'd said. "It's easier. No traffic, no waiting." I didn't argue. It wasn't unusual, but it stung a little more than I expected. All afternoon, I kept checking the time. I told myself I was just looking forward to seeing her again. And I was, in a way. But more than that, I needed to see her. Needed to read her face. Hear her voice. Feel out whether the version of Natalie I'd been texting all week still matched the one I married. When she finally walked through the front door, suitcase trailing behind her, sunglasses perched on her head, she smiled like nothing was wrong. "Hey, babe," she said, like we hadn't been strangers for 5 days. I hugged her. She hugged me back. But it felt shallow. Like the gesture was there, but the weight behind it was missing. "How was it?" I asked, taking her bag. "Amazing," she said, kicking off her shoes. I needed it so bad. I didn't even realize how burned out I was until I got there. She moved through the house like everything was fine. Went upstairs. Unpacked a few things. Showed me a keychain she'd bought at the airport gift shop. She talked about the beach, the food, the resort. But the stories were vague. Polished. Surface level. Nothing about the people. No mention of the inside jokes, or weird encounters, or things that usually spill out when you come back from a trip. She didn't say much about the girls she went with, either. Later that night, we sat on the couch. I asked if she had photos. She scrolled through her phone and showed me a few sunsets, drinks, a couple of posed shots that looked like they'd been edited and chosen carefully. There were hardly any group pictures. None of her friends. None of the usual goofiness I'd seen from past trips. Just still, curated moments. She yawned early, said she was tired, and went up to bed before me. I stayed downstairs, staring at the TV without watching it, my brain caught in the quiet between what I was being told and what I felt. She was home. Everything looked normal. But for the first time since we got married, I felt completely alone in the same room as my wife. It was 3 days after Natalie got back from her trip. Things had settled into what looked like normal on the outside. She went back to work. I went back to pretending everything was fine. But I still felt it, that quiet space between us that hadn't closed. The way she looked at her phone more often now, the way her laugh didn't quite reach me the way it used to. She was home, but she wasn't back. That Thursday afternoon, I was sitting at my desk catching up on emails when my phone buzzed. A message from an unfamiliar number. "Hey, I don't know if I should be doing this, but I think you deserve to know. I was on the trip with Natalie, and I saw what she did." My hands froze over the keyboard. I read the message again, slowly this time, my pulse starting to rise. I stared at the number, then typed back. "What are you talking about?" 3 dots appeared. Then a photo came through. I didn't open it at first. I just stared at the thumbnail blurry, dark, a shape I didn't quite want to recognize. But my thumb moved anyway. The image opened full screen. There she was, Natalie, in a bar, leaning across a table toward a man I didn't know, her hand on his chest, his hand on her waist, the look on her face, intimate, familiar, the kind of look she used to give me across dinner tables or from across the sheets on a quiet Sunday morning. That look was no longer mine. The next message followed. She met him at the resort. I thought it was a one-night thing, but it wasn't. I tried to ignore it, but by the last day, they weren't even being discreet. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm sorry. No punctuation. No drama. Just a raw confession from someone who couldn't sit with what she'd seen. I didn't even know which friend it was. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. I just sat there, phone heavy in my hand, air frozen around me. The photo didn't lie. There was no way to misread it. It wasn't a setup. It wasn't a misunderstanding. I knew that look. I knew her body language. I knew my wife, and I knew, in that moment, I didn't know her at all. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt this coldness settle into my chest like something permanent had moved in. I put the phone down, stood up, and walked into the hallway. Natalie's shoes were by the door. Her coffee mug still on the counter. Her scent still faint in the air. Everything looked normal, and nothing was. I didn't tell her I knew, not right away. I didn't storm into the living room or shout across the house. I didn't text her. I didn't even mention the photo. Instead, I sat with it. Let it settle in my chest like lead. And then I got to work. That night, after she went to sleep, I stood at the edge of the bed and watched her breathing steady, peaceful, like the weight she'd dropped on my chest didn't even exist in her world. I looked at the woman I'd built a life with and realized I didn't feel anything anymore. Not anger, not heartbreak, just emptiness. The next morning, I called out of work. She left around 7:30 like nothing had changed, rushing to her car with her travel mug and tote bag, kissing me on the cheek with that familiar line, "Love you, babe." I didn't respond. By 8 o'clock, I was at the hardware store. I changed the locks before noon. Then I boxed her things, every gift I'd ever bought her, every piece of clothing in the closet, her shoes, her hairdryer, her endless shelf of skincare products, her framed photos from college, the mug she picked out from our last vacation. All of it. I didn't damage a thing. I wanted it intact. I wanted her to see that I'd handled this with more care than she ever gave our marriage. Then I opened the bedroom window, the same one she used to crack open for fresh air on spring mornings, and I started tossing it all out. Box after box. Piece by piece. Into the front yard. I didn't shout. I didn't draw a crowd. I just moved like a man taking out the trash. Controlled. Focused. Done. Then I sent the photo her friend had sent me to her entire family group chat. No caption. Just the image. I followed that with a single line. "This is what Natalie did on her girls' trip. Thought you all should know." I blocked her mom, her sister, even her cousin, who I actually liked. I didn't want explanations or apologies or anyone telling me to talk it out. I wanted distance. I wanted silence. At 6:12 p.m., my phone rang. Her name lit up on the screen. I answered. She was crying. "What's going on? Why can't I get in the house? Why is my stuff outside? What did you do?" I waited. Then I said it. Calm. Even. "I know everything." And I hung up. That was the last time I answered her call. The week after I changed the locks, everything felt strangely still. Not peaceful exactly, more like the air after a storm, when you step outside and nothing is moving, but you know something huge just ended. The front yard was cleared by the next morning. I didn't do it. I assumed Natalie came by after I left for work and packed everything into her car. She didn't leave a note. Didn't try to knock. Didn't make a scene. She just disappeared. She kept calling for a few days after that. Different numbers. Voicemails that swung between anger and begging. It didn't mean anything. We were drunk. You don't understand what I've been going through. I didn't listen to most of them. I deleted them the moment I saw her name. There was nothing left to say. When someone shows you what you never thought they were capable of, you don't wait around for a footnote. I told my side of the story to a few people who mattered. Close friends, my brother, a coworker who'd always asked about how the wife was doing. I didn't give them the full play-by-play, just the shape of it. I gave trust. She broke it. We're done. It felt strange, after years of being part of a we, to start telling people it was just me again. But honestly, it also felt like breathing. For a while, I thought I'd stay alone for a long time. Maybe forever. It wasn't sadness. It was simplicity. I liked waking up in a house that didn't hum with tension. I liked being able to sit on the couch without wondering who was texting her from across the room. But then I met Leah. It wasn't romantic at first. She worked at the cafe near my office, the kind of place with real mugs and quiet music and not too many people on laptops pretending to write novels. We chatted a few times, then a few more. She remembered my order. I remembered her laugh. One morning, she asked if I wanted to join her on her break. Just two people sitting at a table, sharing a quiet moment, no expectations. I said yes. It was easy, effortless in a way that felt honest. Not dramatic, not urgent, just real. Over the next few weeks, we talked more. Texted. Saw a movie. I told her a little about what had happened. Not the gory details, just enough to let her know I wasn't in a hurry, but I wasn't closed off either. She nodded and said, "You don't have to explain anything. Just be yourself. I'm not here to fix anything. I'm just here." And that's exactly what she did. I'm not calling it fate or redemption or anything poetic. But I will say this, for the first time in a long time, I'm waking up without waiting for the floor to fall out from under me. I'm not looking over my shoulder. I'm not listening for lies. I'm just moving forward. It's strange how quickly you can adjust to peace once you realize you've been living without it. These days, I wake up and don't feel the need to check anyone's location, decode anyone's silence, or wonder if I'm being lied to with a smile. My life is quieter now, simpler, and better for it. Natalie hasn't contacted me in over a month. After I stopped responding, she must have realized there was nothing left to salvage. I don't know where she's staying, and I don't care. I heard from someone, through someone else, that her family didn't take it well when they saw the photo. I imagine she's doing damage control, spinning her version of the story, finding ways to justify it to herself. But it's not my problem anymore. It's not my job to make sense of someone else's choices. And that's the part one didn't expect, the freedom that comes from no longer needing closure. At first, I wanted to ask her why. I wanted the play-by-play, the justifications, the whole script. But with time, I realized the answers wouldn't change a thing. She did what she did. I believed in us. She didn't. That's the whole story. Now, I'm focused on things that actually matter. My work, my health, seeing friends I'd lost touch with during those busy, married years when weekends were all booked up. I even started running again, something I hadn't done since college. The rhythm of it clears my head in a way nothing else does. And then there's Leah. I'm not rushing anything. We're taking it slow. But she's become a steady part of my life. A gentle, honest presence who never makes me feel like I have to earn her sincerity. We cook together sometimes. We go for walks after dinner. She listens. Really listens. I didn't realize how starved I was for that until she offered it so freely. Sometimes I still catch myself thinking about the old life. The house with 2 toothbrushes. The Sunday morning grocery runs. The plans we used to make. But it doesn't hit the same way anymore. It's not longing. It's not grief. It's more like looking at an old photo of yourself and thinking, I didn't even know I was drowning in that moment. I'm not bitter. I'm not heartbroken. I'm not waiting for her to apologize. I'm just done. And in that ending, I found something better than forgiveness or revenge. I found myself.